I think it's coming pretty good, and hoping everybody enjoys it.
Oh my God!
Oh,
that
shit.
was awesome.
I want you to put your hands together
There goes the neighborhood. There goes the neighborhood.
and welcome him to the stage. Big round of applause.
There goes the neighborhood.
All right, welcome back to the SmokeScreen podcast, episode 36. Okay, we got it right, 36. We are in the new place.
Yes, we are.
As you can see, this is not our normal setup. This is the temporary. We just got the table today.
Exactly.
So I hope it's not echoey and stuff in here. We got a lot of shit to do. I got like a Twitch station behind me. That some of you guys seen on Twitch the other night, and now we can start putting things on the wall and sound matting and all that good stuff. So we're finally here. We talked about it for a year.
Over a year, yeah.
A fucking year. So we're finally here. We're
here.
in the space. We're in the right space. So we'll get it together and have actually got RGB lighting coming tomorrow. So we'll have it looking cool.
Hell yes.
And
Set
different
the
camera
tone,
angles.
the
So
atmosphere.
yes, and this is a temporary iPhone fix. So we'll have actual different cameras and all that good stuff coming soon.
Could be pretty cool.
But yeah, it's been a while, and so we were kind of struggling because I've been doing a lot of moving, obviously, and all that stuff, and you've been busy. But we're like, we hadn't watched anything. I'm currently catching up to James on a few things.
Yeah.
On topics, but what we've been doing is we've both written books, or almost
Yeah.
start finish the first of each. Oh, fuck. See, it's temporary.
God damn. All right.
All right, we had a malfunction there. What was I saying?
You said-
We wrote books.
We did. We wrote some damn books.
We wrote books, and yeah, let's talk about our books. I'm about 3-4 chapters from the first manuscript being done. You've read a lot of it.
I have.
I've got some
really
beta
like
readers
it.
on Patreon, and so and you're writing a memoir.
Yeah. Yeah. For me, I'm a little behind you. I've got 8 chapters.
But they're long, good stories.
Yeah, each chapter is its own story, and I'm about 20,000 words in, and I feel like if I look at my list of potential stories, I believe this is probably going to be about 50 or 60,000 words.
15, 16, 18 chapters, maybe 20.
Yeah, and that's going to put me a lot of words, but like you said, each one of them is just a good little story.
They really are, and some of you guys have heard James' stories over the years.
Yes,
a few, but you've heard the Cliff Notes.
That's right.
Version.
That's a good way to put it. That's all. That's you'll be familiar with some of the stories, but
yes,
these go more in depth.
Because I've read, I think most of your chapters.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if the recent ones or whatever, but they're fucking good, man. It's really good. It really is. I mean, like you said, your goal was to make the reader feel this tall as in a kid, like you're
right,
almost through your eyes,
through my eyes, and that's what I've tried to do when I've done a chapter, say where I'm 5 years old,
right,
and I'm trying to describe something that I'm looking at. I do try to word it to where the reader feels that.
Yeah, and you definitely can't, and it's fucking hilarious. I mean, because you're using, I know, Southern,
right,
and rednecks, and the way they talk is in that fucking book. That's the way we are. Some of us talk. Some of our family members.
Let people read it. I've had to say, if language bothers you,
yes, don't read.
You don't want to read this, but this is how people talked.
Right, and that's part of what made you and made the stories unique to you.
That's right.
I mean, it's not, you can't sugarcoat stuff like that. It's a memoir.
It is.
It's a memoir.
And so there's going to be some, you read the chapter about the soap, the side effects of the soap.
Yeah,
where I was masturbating for the first time.
Yes, and everybody, I'm telling you, every dude has that story.
So you got to have the right language to go along to set that scene.
That's right. You can't just put it in layman's terms just to be nice.
Yeah,
no,
you got the older buddy who's trying to educate you, but he's trying to be cool too. So he's cursing you out,
right,
and calling you a puss and all this stuff.
Right. Get there and do it.
Yeah, just do it.
Now, mine was a little different from that and have anybody egging me on, but still. But no, that's just what was really cool. Because we were saying this when me and you were watching something last night, and we got in a bunch of conversations, and it doesn't matter if you're not some blue check mark on Twitter. Everybody has a story.
They do,
and it's really, really interesting to me. Like we talked about one day, maybe going to Cherokee and interviewing General Grant, the last Cherokee master silversmith in Cherokee, North Carolina, on the reservation. The Cherokee, the Eastern Band of Cherokee Indians, the reservation. And, talking to people like that, because they have a very unique perspective on things. But everybody has a story.
And that's what I was going to say. You came home from Cherokee when you went camping and fishing and told me about this guy.
Right.
And, I mean, honestly, it's not just the story of, because he's Cherokee, he's still an individual.
Exactly.
So he's going to have a different perspective, say, than his cousins up there
Exactly.
and everything. So each person...
That's what bothers me about society is we're not individuals anymore. We're all in fucking groups.
Yeah.
It drives me crazy.
I think if somebody was going to, read a memoir and I don't have PhD or MD beside my name,
yes.
Will they be interested? I think you're missing out if you judge things by those initials and titles.
Appeal to authority type of thing is just nonsense. That means nothing in the case of personal stories.
Right.
I mean, if you were coming here talking about physics, writing a book about physics, that
Then
would
you
matter.
You would want to see that.
You would
That's
absolutely
right.
want. That's what you'd be looking for.
You
wouldn't buy it if it just said James Wright.
Right.
If it said physics my way, because there is no my way.
That's awesome.
You know what I'm saying?
I might write that book.
Yeah, I know. I do actually want to talk about physics sometime. I know you don't, but I'm so into particle physics.
Well,
and I don't know. It's just crazy to me. Anyway, we're getting off topic a little bit, but
well, your story, your book. Now you're writing a novel, a fantasy novel.
yeah.
And
So much in my head.
See, that's where I have an advantage on you. Is I'm
Right.
recalling things that I remember. My world's already built.
Yes, it's the absolute.
All I have to do is describe it.
That's right. It's the absolute real world, and you're in your environment. Yeah.
So you have to make up the world, and not that
Yes.
you don't have things you can pull from.
Oh,
but,
yeah.
But you still have to imagine it. Imagine each setting and each character. Because if I write about my aunt or my mom or my babysitter, like I know what they look like, so I can just easily. You have to invent these people and then describe them.
Yes, there's everybody knows when you write a book, it's a big undertaking. You just know that just because of the sheer size of it. Mm-hmm. But you're not thinking about that. Not only the world, but then the countries and the cities and the towns and the feel and then the characters and then their eye color and their origins, their race, whatever it may be, and then their personalities. Oh my God! I mean, that's just the beginning.
Yeah.
And then the religions in the world and the dialects and all, because you're trying to make it realistic, unless you're doing some like high fantasy thing where it's not pulled from the real world. But this is I guess you could call it. I mean, it's based off the real world. It is a different world, but it's based off the real world. I would say low fantasy, maybe into a little bit of dark fantasy. I guess I would would describe it, as you know, without giving away too much.
Fantasy, yeah.
And so yeah, I mean, it's crazy, it's fun, it's frustrating, all at the same time. You know what I mean? I'm super excited that I'm pretty close to finishing the first manuscript because, me and you've had a lot of conversation about it. I think this is at least 2 books, if not 3, but I'm not 100% sure. But I think I'm to the point now where I'm 2 or 3 chapters from where the first one needs to end.
Well,
because there's a pretty big revelation.
I read this in pieces early on.
Yeah.
So you would get a chapter, I would read it. Then I'd read another chapter later, and then
it might be a month later.
Right. So the best thing I ever did was sit down and read it all that one night.
Right.
Or those 2 nights over at your house. And I gotta say, I kept telling you, these characters, they're good characters. The little predicaments that they find themselves in, it leaves the reader wanting more, curious, because as a lot of you guys have read the Song of Ice and Fire. His chapters are like POV chapters.
Yes.
So it'll drop off on somebody's POV, and then it'll pick back up on somebody else's, and you're left going, "Well, I can't wait. I gotta read all this to get back to their POV to see how this plays out."
And I think it does a good job. Like it starts out as kind of fairly normal. I think there's a hook. I think there's a hook in the beginning.
There is.
But as you know, now that you sat in and read it all kind of in, two big chunks, night after, two nights in a row you're talking about, you can see it kind of starts picking up into a little more mystery. You start to like, oh, wait a minute, what's happening here?
Right.
That's what I'm trying to do. And you gave me a lot of good feedback. When you accused me of thieving, I felt pretty good about it, actually.
That is a good compliment.
It is.
I told him, I said, if I didn't know you and had like lived with you, saw you in here writing,
right,
I would say you copied and pasted this from somewhere because it's really good.
Right.
I still want to know, where did you do your research? The sex scenes, like
that's from me.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a couple. There's actually another one.
These are very graphic sex scenes in this.
There are. I'm trying to make it real.
And
I'm trying to keep it real.
He's told me before that he only does missionary with the lights out and the cover pulled up to his neck. These stories aren't like that.
Shit. Oh God! You're bringing up bad memories. Excuse me. No, but yes. The sex scenes obviously are from my own. I'm sure that will reveal some stuff about me.
Dude, it really adds to it because it builds these characters, is what it does.
Yeah, there's a reason. It's not just for having a hot scene in there. There are definitely reasons that I can't say, obviously.
Let me ask you this, on all seriousness. Is it hard to tiptoe around, say, authors that you've read, because you were such a big George R.R. Martin fan?
Yeah.
Is it hard to build a world?
Well, I'm a fan of Ice and Fire. I'm not a fan of his sci-fi, actually.
Right.
But that's just me. I'm not. Anyway.
Right. Because you're building a world that seems like it's set similar.
Right.
So how hard is that balancing out? So you don't get like, that sounds like this or that. Or
yeah. Remember when I first started, I was like, everything I wrote, I felt like, because we were coming so fresh off Game of Thrones and this TV show ending and all that stuff. Of course, I've been working on this for 3 years. But everything was like, oh, shit, that sounds like Ice and Fire. But when I initially wrote down my general ideas, because I didn't plan much. I'm more like he calls the gardener, I think. Remember when I first started, I was like, God, this sounds like Game of Thrones or Ice and Fire or whatever. But when I initially wrote down my initial kind of I wouldn't even call it an outline, just some general thoughts I had. Actually, most of it's coming from other things. So it's just also similar because there's so many medieval things, and that's also what kind of like, should I write one of these things? It's kind of medieval style, but I think I got something different going on. Is the reason I went ahead with it.
Right.
But I'm pulling from, the story isn't from my head, obviously, but the setting, is from Ice and Fire and from video game series. There's a huge element of that in there, and from all these other things that I'm pulling from. So I thought about that a lot at first. I mean, you had many conversations about it, but the more I look into all these authors and read more stuff, everybody has to.
You have to.
Everybody's pulling from something, and there's inevitably going to be similar things. You like dire wolves. There was something I had in there, and I was like, this sounds like a dire wolf or something, but dire wolves were real things.
Well,
and so there's things like that you just can't avoid.
And one thing I thought was, with this gaping hole, why not? Anybody who likes that kind of stuff, they're already going to like this. And then with the twists you throw in there, I really think if people give this a shot and check this out when you get it published, they'll be pleasantly surprised.
I hope so, because I think, regardless of the setting, whether it's in a fantasy style world like Earth, or it's a sci-fi place, and or a spaceship or something, I think is the characters was what matters.
Yeah,
and that's what I'm trying to do. And so this is my first attempt at it, but I mean, I'm getting a lot of good feedback, so I feel good about it. I know there's a lot of shit that needs to be changed. There's a lot I got to update. I have a lot of name placeholders, you know, that I've changed some, but there's still more to go throughout the later chapters. I have a huge map I've started, which I got to fill in, all that good stuff. Actually, I wrote a kind of not a script, but more of an outline today for a video, kind of introducing this to the YouTube crowd.
I think that's a good idea.
I got to start doing that. I mean, and also now that I'm nearing the end, I'm talking to one publisher that we worked with before. He's interested, kind of, sort of. He usually don't do fantasy and fiction, but he's willing to maybe publish this under a separate press and everything. So there's some talks there, and then I'm obviously looking up everything about, you know, querying literary agents to get it to a traditional publisher as well. And then if you always got the Amazon option, just self-publishing on Amazon. So all that's kind of happening at one time. And what I'm quickly learning is before the book's even done, I need to be marketing the thing. So I'm going to be setting up an Indiegogo just for an email list for people that are interested, and then it'll, you know, update people whenever it's, you know, getting close.
Yeah.
So I'm going to set all that up as well. And I'll have all that in another video I put out on the channel as well. It'll be a one-off video. But I'm going to start introducing the place and some characters, get some artwork done, you know, at least some sketches and stuff like that. Because I got these people in my head, you know, and some are described obviously on the page. And so I want some, you know, just some. So it's really more for videos for now until, you know, because I do picture like then one thing I will certainly do that George R. R. Martin did, I will certainly have a map of the place on the inside cover.
You got to.
You know what I mean?
I've told you that from jump.
Yeah, that changes the game.
I don't like reading a place, reading about places if I can't look.
Right.
You know?
Exactly.
I like to know, okay, well, they're traveling this way and that way, and this is where that battle took place.
Yeah, and you remember when I drew the map out the first night, I think you were there when I was sitting there doing it. I just started just literally moving my hand. That was it. And it hadn't, I made some minor tweaks, obviously. Yeah. But the basic landmass is still the same. I opened up a little bit down south and changed some things over, and now some places have names. But I literally just wrote that, and I tried to even do that a little bit different from your traditional, you know, fantasy, because Westeros, for example, is you know, the big continent, and you got Essos, and everybody's familiar with that. But it's pretty much a plain kind of it's really the UK upside down, or whatever, Europe upside down. So I even tried to make that a little bit different as far as how what it looks like. And so I'm trying to do some different things, but there's obviously going to be some things that are familiar to people. But when you look into George R. R. Martin, there's so much taken from Memory, Sorrow, and Thorn, Tad Williams, and people like that. So there's always going to be people say that sounds like this or sounds like that. But of course it does. If you're talking about a medieval fantasy world, you know, you're going to have similarities, you know. The Witcher is very similar to Game of Thrones in the sense of the world. But it's the characters and the story behind it that change it, obviously.
Yeah. And I like the way you write with that, you know, Dr. Seuss style. I like that too.
That's yes. A lot of rhyming. I mean, you have no idea my rhyme book. Dr. Seuss style, Jesus.
No.
Green eggs and ham.
That's funny. It's funny. You know, I've had issues at my house with my AC unit and everything.
Oh, God.
And, well, I've also had these high water bills, right? And this is off topic, but you said green eggs and ham.
Yeah.
And
shit. Well, you know how these go.
I know. And so I've had these high water bills I've told you about, and the landlord kept saying, well, I'm gonna get it fixed, you know, and like every few months he might take $40 out of the envelope and give it back to me when I pay the rent. Just the day before yesterday, he hits me up and he's like, you got any food coloring over there at your house? And I was like, matter of fact, I do. I have some green. What color you need? Oh, it don't matter what color it is. I want you to squirt some in the back of your toilet before you go to work.
What the hell?
And then when you come back, if there's any green down there in the bowl, then you'll know your toilet's leaking. You need a new valve in there. And I was like, that's a good idea. But I only had green food coloring because I made that green eggs and ham for Melanie that time.
Right.
That shit turned out so ugly. Oh my God.
Excuse me.
try to make green scrambled eggs, it looks horrible.
Oh God, I bet it would.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I mean, I know in the book it was like a fried egg.
Right.
But anyway, that's what that reminded me of. when
The
you said
things we
that.
do for love.
Oh, God.
Damn! Speaking of ice and fire.
Trying to make green eggs and ham.
But yeah, no, I'm excited about it, man. I'm really pumped up about it, and I've got a couple other YouTube friends reading it as well, and I've gotten good feedback from a couple. Not everybody's replied yet, so I know they're all busy, so I'm not taking that as some slight or something. But
Right. But what I've learned though is when you write stuff and you turn it loose, like
yeah,
hey, I'm going to share this with you and get feedback. It does kind of tear your nerves up. I've got somebody right now who I've sent some stuff to, and they haven't responded.
right.
And you almost feel like, are they not responding because they don't like it and they don't want to hurt my feelings?
Exactly, and that's what I tell you. When I first put the prologue, chapter 1 and 2 on Patreon, I'm about to release more on Patreon too, for beta readers, because I have a level where they're going to get a copy of the book and everything. But I wanted honest feedback from people that I trust, and I want honest feedback. I don't want the nice shit. I mean, if you got something nice, they fine, but just don't forget the negatives. I really need to hear that.
You do.
You have to hear that, and so you're afraid that people are still being nice, because I've got a couple things about I don't like this part of this, or this don't sound right, or this is a bit confusing, but that's not horrible. But I haven't heard anything horrible yet. Like, yeah, you got to scrap that whole shit. That whole paragraph sucks. I haven't heard anything like that. So it worries me a little bit that people are being nice. But when you read it the whole time, you had the reactions. When you read it the full thing at one time, you had the reactions I'm sitting there thinking about when I'm writing.
Yes.
And so that's what really made me feel better about it.
And so we're that like I didn't know that you were even paying me attention because you were packing and stuff.
Yeah, but and that's the thing, the secret.
I know.
You know the secret that's coming.
So, right. And I'm telling you, it doesn't matter if the secret's there or not. It's a good story.
Right. That's what I'm taking from it now.
Yeah,
because I was so worried. I said that a million times. Is this even a story?
Right. You said it. You have said
it.
it.
And I have the ending.
And
I
was
literally
scared
have the
to
ending.
read it.
Right.
Because I had read a few chapters early on, but you kept dogging it so much, I was like scared to sit down and read it, or not dogging it, but questioning it.
Yeah,
questioning it. So I was like, "Fuck, how am I going to say this thing?" But honestly, I'm telling you, and I told you that night, you have good character development. You paint worlds good, and this has to be more than one book.
Yeah, no doubt.
It has to be,
no
whether
doubt.
you go backwards or forwards, either way.
Right.
You've created good characters, good storylines.
And it's at least two. I know the ending. I know the general ending, but there may be a lot of stuff in between I'll think of and add later. It could be a trilogy, but definitely two, because there's a certain point, as you know, that will be revealed in the end of this book, and hopefully that people will be like, oh, damn.
Mm-hmm.
And I can't say any more than that, obviously. But that's the idea. And then now, of course, I got the short story that's like a prequel. It's like a separate story that it's referenced in this book already. And because I just got that in my head, that would be kind of cool there. And I wrote that, and that's 5,000 word short story already. Mm-hmm. And it's basically ready to go. I think I've made some minor tweaks.
I like the short story.
And then I told you about stuff about some of these, let's say, other characters that I can't really mention right now.
Yes.
There's whole entire stories with each one of those. Like it's its own little, at least a short story, if not longer.
Yeah.
Maybe a novelette.
Yeah.
As far as that goes.
The short story, I feel like it'd be cool if you worked it in there somewhere, somehow.
Yeah, it's already referenced, and it will be referenced even more, for sure.
But what do you think of this? Because I had the advantage of, when I was reading it, to tell you things that I was thinking.
Right.
Clarify
live.
things.
Yeah, live. As opposed to like, somebody reading it and then sending me an email.
So I feel like it would be cool if you could do, maybe for Patreon, like patrons on Patreon, have some kind of live stream, private live stream.
Yeah.
Where everybody is there.
That's a good idea.
Live.
That's what I want to do.
They can bounce questions, and you're there, and they give you that feedback like you got from me live.
Yes,
It's
that was
really
that.
cool.
That's a great idea. We've been talking since the move. Before the move, I've been telling on Twitch streams and stuff because I hadn't done a lot of YouTube streams recently. But yeah, I wanted to do a call anyway on Patreon. I'm trying because there's a revamp thing coming with that, all that stuff too. But that's a great thing right there that I had thought about, and you just reminded me, was having that kind of live feedback Q&A type thing that also gets me thinking, and not just like you ask me cool questions or whatever, but yes, that feedback.
It's going to get you thinking because you have to realize that no matter how much you know about this world, somebody's going to read it and ask you a question that you're not prepared for.
Exactly. And there's going to be things to me that it could be a paragraph, it could be a chapter that's like crystal clear.
Yep.
In my head, like
And
this
to
is
the reader,
because every chapter has a purpose, and everything has got a purpose. It moves the story forward and advances the plot. And to me, it's crystal clear. But somebody may go, maybe you need to move that one over here, or take it out, or maybe just change it up. So I need all that feedback for sure. Because now once I get this first draft done, and that's what I'm excited about. Is printing out the whole damn thing.
Oh, yeah.
I got the formatted version where I'm just keep adding chapters to it, and as I clean them up, and it's just getting thicker and thicker.
Right.
I'm gonna print that out, that stack of paper, and then go back and do it again because it's going to take about 15 times.
I've got all mine printed out now, but it's not formatted front and back.
Yeah.
So it's about this thick, and that is so exciting.
It is. It's got to be. And I print out, obviously the handful for people and stuff here and family members, but not to see the whole stack. I'm ready to see that.
And as far as mine goes, I think I might have an advantage over you is that some of my chapters can be weaker to the reader because what the topic I'm talking about isn't their speed, but I can bounce right back in the next one, because that's more up their alley. That topic, subject matter,
but I think, man,
changes from
I don't think it will. I don't think it
from
matters.
one to one.
I think the story. I don't think it matters about what you were doing in the chapter or the story.
Right.
It's that you were doing it. It's because it's you and the people around you and the way they're, like you said, the way they're speaking and the way you're responding, and we're in your head as a kid in some of these at different ages.
Yeah, a lot of different ages.
Because you're bouncing around. And I think that's great not to go in some perfect chronological order. By the way.
Right.
Because in this one, James is 6 or 7. Over here, you're fucking 15.
Yep. And then I'm 20 in this one.
And the great thing about that is, and what you got going on is, like, for example, anybody that writes a fantasy book or a sci-fi book, some kind of fictional book, there's only a portion of the people who like that. Period.
Right.
Everybody, though, can relate to something that's personal. They'll have a similar story, something that reminds them of an event in their life as a kid or whatever. So
their granny might be like my granny.
Yeah,
and it reminds them of,
or your buddy
something
that you mentioned one time that had this crazy personality and wild whatever.
Yeah.
They have a buddy like that too that they remember growing up, and so everybody can relate to that, regardless of what they prefer in fiction, TV, and movies and books.
I can't lie. I cannot sit here and lie and say that I hope it doesn't blow up.
Oh yeah,
and not just for the monetary gain but because just to accomplish something.
Yes.
We've talked about it
huge.
a lot. Just finishing it is going to be a big accomplishment.
Absolutely. We had a pretty good, heated debate one night about all that kind of stuff, and I changed my mindset to that kind of way a long time ago, and it was like, you just finish it. It's a choice.
Just finish it. And that's going to be when somebody finishes my book, they're going to see.
Yeah.
James, this is a recurring theme in James's life.
Yeah.
Somebody should be able to pick this up and kind of get an idea of who I am, why I am who I am.
Right. And this helps break some of that cycle.
It helps me. It's like therapy.
It is, absolutely.
No doubt. Let me ask you this. How do you get into a writing zone, like drown out all the noise that's going on, say, in the world, in your life? Do you have a routine?
What I found is I typed the first probably 10 chapters, just regular, sitting there, the same spot that I was streaming and editing videos all the time, in the same seat that I've been in for 5 years.
Yep.
And I would get in grooves and, and go fairly quickly. But then a couple times I'm sitting there like, I'm my back's hurt. I'm tired of sitting here all day, because you're streaming and then you're writing and whatever. So I was like, let me do it old school. So I grabbed a pad and a pen and go in there and sit on the couch and lean backwards and kind of relax. And it starts flowing out of a pen a hell of a lot better than it does typing for me.
Yeah.
Because I was sending you, as a matter of fact, I sent you a couple pictures. Like I wrote 2 or 3 chapters in one night a piece within a couple hours, like a whole chapter.
Yep.
That was when it was just like, oh, yeah. You get that, it's just going. So I've never had an issue with like writer's block. And then.
So when you're typing, you're just copying what you've written.
Yeah. So what I would do is just go in there and just, once I write it out, I'm struggling to read my own writing because I'm writing, I write chicken scratch, especially when I'm like in a hurry or trying to just take all like notes or whatever.
Yeah.
So I would either type it up or use this app on my phone where I would just record, I would just read it. And it types it out for you on your phone, and you email it to yourself, and then paste it in and start cleaning it up.
Right.
So that's the way I found. So I do both. But I enjoy just sitting there writing for some reason. I mean, your hand cramps up, because I got 10 full pages. It ends up being a chapter, or 12 in some cases, or even 15. It was already, and I'm sitting there,
no doubt,
doing that all in about an hour or two. And I'm like, God almighty, you have to stop,
Because, when we were in school, our writing muscles were worked every day.
Yeah, there was no...
So...
We got into... I think we still had typing class.
Yep.
But you didn't use it.
Right.
And when I even went to college, I had this, old flip-up computer with a little printer I thought was so cool. It was like a tiny printer you plugged into it. And that was the first... It was like a briefcase is what it was. Well, something my dad had.
I told you that I thought about getting a manual typewriter.
Yeah.
Just, for that retro feel and to kind of, hear that.
Yeah, exactly.
But, they're so expensive. Believe it or not.
That's what's crazy when you told me that.
They're so expensive online. And then I started thinking, I do like rearrange stuff on the computer when I'm typing, or hit backspace, and
exactly, because
you can't do that with
when I'm writing with a pen. It's just like, oh shit, and you're scribbling out the whole line, and it just becomes sloppy because you're like, oh no, I can say that better. And there's been so many times of that. So there's some of those pages that it looks like a lot, but half of it scribbles.
Yeah.
Or I think of another line to insert, and I'm writing it down here, and I put an arrow up here, to where it goes. But either way, I mean, I've done both ways, but that's, to me, it's certainly not more efficient, but I write faster and it seems to flow better when I write with a pen, old style.
My dream, like, for me, what I do is, I don't know why this is, but for some reason, I have to make a cup of coffee. That seems so weird.
No, I get it.
I drink more coffee when I'm writing than anything. And, sometimes it'll get cold sitting there. But that's just part of the routine. I'll make a cup of coffee, and I'll sit down. And like you said about your back.
Yes.
I've got to get a more comfortable setup because... when my back stops me from writing, it makes me mad.
Yes.
Because you just can't stay in that position any longer. You've got to change.
That's
right. Then that ruins everything.
And that's what I mean. So then in that case, I would go back to the computer and sit there because I've got these nice gaming chairs with the back support and all that, and they're comfortable. It don't matter what chair you got. You sit there that long.
It's the length of time.
It's just because I'm editing all day, and then I'm like, well, I need to write tonight for a couple hours. And, so it just adds to the time.
But my dream is... for some reason, I picture Stephen King. You know how he'll go to Maine where he lives, and he has these cabins, I guess, remote. He probably has whole houses out in the woods,
yes. Like Bill Gates. We watched that Bill Gates thing.
No, remember, I didn't watch it. You were telling me about it. But I just picture a cozy room. I would like a real fire going.
Yeah, I was going to say that fireplace.
With, bookshelves around, a lot of brown in it, a brown leather chair, and I picture
So
one
a
of
mountain house.
those green lamps like they have in the libraries on all the
Oh yes.
at the colleges and all the movies.
Yes.
I'd like to have some cool little lamp on my desk, cup of coffee here, and a laptop. And I think, man, I could churn out some stuff. I believe I could.
Yeah, no, I mean I think everybody needs that kind of. It's like this podcast. Once we get this set up in here and we have everything on the walls and have the lighting right and we have where we're going to be and things here, we don't have to worry because it takes you out of the groove.
Yeah,
and it's the same for writing. I think if you don't like when I know it does for YouTube. When you set up, and you've done this too, when you're setting up and moving cameras around and tables and all your shit and you're trying to get in the shot, it takes you out of the mood to record.
yes,
Because you're doing that for 20 or 30 minutes. And that's why we want to be able to come sit down and do this
will be
podcast.
set. We're
It's
going to
set. It's
eventually-
permanent.
Yes.
When these get up here and they're mounted permanently to the table instead of to over here on this stool, just like for over here on Twitch, I can sit down now and just click go. But once I get like everything on the shelves and the lighting, how I want it and all that stuff, it'll make me feel better. I just sit down and do it.
Right.
Instead of getting, because it takes you out of that zone.
It really does. I don't know how anybody could write a book or a novel with little kids, toddlers.
Oh no way. No way. There's too many distractions. You got to get away.
You've got to get away.
And what I was saying about the Bill Gates thing, like you mentioned, Stephen King, is I just watched that. It was like a little 3-part thing. I don't think they've ever made any more. But when he has these projects he wants to jump on, he goes out to this lake house. It's a small little kind of cabin on a lake by himself for a week. He takes a bag of books and he reads them all. And then he has these thought experiments almost and reads all this stuff that he wants to learn about. Of course, he learns it in a week.
Yeah.
He can learn nuclear physics overnight, and he goes out and invents something to help change the world.
Yeah, he's one of those savants.
Exactly. So that's the kind of, I agree. The cup of coffee, the little, all that good stuff. I'm sure most people have a routine.
It's kind of like what you were saying on the other podcast about basketball, how, lace your shoes just right. Wear certain socks.
A routine.
You got to get,
Yeah, not like, because I wasn't superstitious. It was just the routine.
Like you, when if I feel right and I
Yes.
think I look right, I'll play right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So I think that carries over to anything.
I do too.
But yeah, I had a question for you and your
Go
project.
for it. Yep.
Because it kind of going off an old podcast we did about memory.
Mm-hmm.
How accurate do you think you are?
It's a good question.
Because you got lots of detail, like really small details.
Yes, I do.
The color of a dude's shirt or a car or
or a smell.
a smell. Yeah, exactly.
I've told people, and I think our memory podcast has a lot to do with this. As I tell people that, every word of this is true.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right. And I don't, am I, because a lot of these are stories I've told a lot,
Yep.
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 So am I remembering telling the story?
Exactly.
And that's that kind of stair steps.
Yes.
The last time I told it was I remember from the time before that and before that and before that. And
It's a new neural network every time.
just
where
like I told you on the porch
talk-
earlier, I was like, how I screwed up that story. The doctor murdering his wife.
Yeah.
And you're like, well, doctor, what? And, and that's a story we've talked
You
about multiple times.
You combine two things.
I
yes.
combined two things.
Exactly.
So, but with these, honestly, I feel
Still can't believe that.
pretty damn confident that I'll bet you I'm 75% of a camcorder. That's how confident I am.
Yeah, okay. All right.
And-
Well,
and-
either way, the story's legit. It's just the
exactly.
minor things is what
That's
would
right.
be off, maybe.
That's right.
The color or the smell, or maybe it was a different room, whatever.
Because I've made my mind up that I'm not going to embellish, because there's
Yeah,
room
yeah.
for embellishment. In
Oh, yeah,
this.
sure.
I could really, redneck some of these people up.
You don't need to embellish.
That's what I was going to say. I
You
think
do
they're
not.
redneck enough as they read.
You do not need to make Joey fucking exotic.
Now, let me ask you this about my book. What do you think about me writing about people?
As
Where do you draw that line?
as far
because I'm
as
writing
like
some pretty uncomfortable things.
yeah, no, I think it's fair. I don't think there was anything that I've read that out of line,
Right.
because the things they're saying or out loud or whatever to you, that's what affected you.
That's right.
So if you leave that out, then there's no context for why you felt a certain way.
That's right.
Or why you had took an action or whatever. So, I mean, it is what it is.
Because when I sat down to do it, I started thinking, do I write in the beginning, some names have been changed to protect people?
Yeah.
And then some of the people I wrote about, I sent a chapter to.
That was my next question.
And they said, I'm okay with that. Leave it.
That's exactly what I was going to ask you.
Because
Have
they're like
anybody that you mentioned,
deacons
little
in their
Bobby.
church now.
Have you sent little Bobby the chapter?
Right.
But now he's old Bobby.
Yeah.
And see if he's cool with it.
I've sent some friends who are, like deacons in churches now.
Right.
And we used to do things that you wouldn't think a deacon would do.
That's right.
And they were like, hey, that's part of our testimony anyway.
Exactly. Exactly.
So I felt good about it.
Yeah, I don't think, unless it was just some god awful thing, I don't think it's out of line at all.
Right.
And like I said, if you're trying to be truthful, like we were talking about the memory thing, that's what made you feel or act a certain way in that environment, that situation, because of their actions too.
Yeah, because that one chapter you laughed, and I put it in there for the reader to laugh.
Oh yeah.
About the little boy I was playing with, and I said I hated it when his big brother was there because he always tried to get me to play with his dirty little dick. You remember that?
Yes.
I could have left that out.
Yeah, you could have just said dick.
Yeah,
But
or
sir-
I hated I hated for his big brother to be there and left it at that.
Exactly.
He was a bully. Left it at that.
Exactly. But no, that's what you were thinking.
Yeah. And honestly, had he not been such a weirdo, the memory might not have stuck.
That's right. That's exactly.
Because I think traumatic
things. Exactly.
will bookmark something.
Sure.
Yep.
It's like, because it's like me. I mean, you have the craziest stories. And I live in we're in the same town. And I have some crazy stories, but not anything like you have.
It's got to be having a 15-year-old mom.
Oh, sure. Yeah, absolutely.
That's
no
the
doubt.
difference.
No doubt about it.
Yep.
No doubt. Because it's a kid raising a
A
kid.
kid raising a kid.
Yep.
You get in adventures.
Yeah, exactly.
But
Because she's still young and wanting to do young people things.
Yeah.
And that's just the way it is. So I don't see anything wrong. I think it's fucking outstanding. I really do. And I think, like I told you when I was looking at that site about some of these literary agents to pitch, try to get publishing and all that stuff. There's a lot on there looking for memoirs, and that surprised me. I guess it shouldn't have surprised me, because I enjoy reading. Like I said, everybody has a story, but to see actual, current agents still looking for memoirs is cool.
It is.
I think everybody should write a book.
I'll be honest with you, man. I have been told that because some of these stories are pretty outlandish, and you guys know that too. I've told a lot of you guys some of these stories, but people have told me that I should, not share it so much electronically, because they think some of these crazy ass stories could be good plot devices for other people to use.
Yeah.
And so I have been thinking that, and that's a good compliment when somebody says, "Hey, you need to guard this. Somebody might steal it. This could be a Netflix series one day."
Right, exactly.
That's a compliment from hell.
It is. It is.
And you have to worry, just like you've said before, are these people praising me because they're family and friends? And you do have to worry about that. But I wouldn't do that to you. Like, the legit reactions you got from me, I'm not that good of an actor, first off.
Yes.
Yeah,
well, when you were saying things like, this little thing didn't have to be there. It was just some action that gives you more insight into how he's thinking or she's thinking or whatever. And
I thought that was a good addition.
That's the kind of things that I was trying to purposely do to make you understand or feel or that character.
I don't want to give away. Can I just say a
Sure,
line from
go for it. Go for it.
Like the point, I know there's a point he's making. I mentioned it a couple times, but the one that really stood out was, dude, they're on horseback and they're having a conversation, and the guy
I believe this
tosses
was Cyric and Amori, right?
Yeah, that's who it is.
Yeah,
Yep.
okay.
Tosses the apple to the other guy, and it was the way you wrote that he held the apple up like he was toasting him before he took a bite out of it, but in the context of that whole scene, like it makes it visual.
Right.
It almost makes it like a, and I'm not doing any justice here, but I'm just saying that's the kind of things he's talking about that I would make that mention of. Is
Right.
You could have left that out, but it does. It brings
Yeah,
it
it
to
could have
life.
been just he tossed him an apple.
Yes.
And you would have assumed he ate it.
Yep,
or
you would
whatever.
assume. Yeah, but the way, because it's like I
it
can
was just
picture
a,
it.
It was
like,
just a little touch to
people
make
do
you
that.
It was a little touch to make you try to understand more of their relationship.
Yep.
And how far back they go and that kind of thing. That was my thing.
and people do that kind of thing.
Right.
And you can totally see it, and it just helps. It's the little things like that, because anybody can sit down and go, and they rode their magnificent steeds all the way to town.
Right.
but
It's about, and again, this is all based off all the stuff I've read about writing and videos I've watched about writing, is more showing, less telling.
yeah,
And that's what I've been trying to think about. And then getting all those senses in there when I do narrate something.
right.
So that was the idea. So I'm glad that I'm getting feedback that's the reactions that I am hoping to get.
Well, what I thought was cool, and that you'll find maybe when you do that live chat thing, is I thought it was cool that I was guessing stuff that was wrong,
Yes.
because you need that as the author.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, I mean, if everybody reads right through every sentence you write,
That's right.
this is a waste of your
And
time.
there's one big point in there that when you read that paragraph, I said, okay, this paragraph is extremely important, and I need to know what you take away from it. And that's
Yes.
all I said.
Yep.
And
And I was not 100% right, but
and that's what I needed.
Yes.
That's what I needed.
But what I got was what you were hoping I would get.
Right. So the
you-
way it was like one or two sentences, the way I wrote them, it had to come off that way. And it worked, at least in that case.
Without giving away too much, you have to keep people off the scent.
Yes.
Yeah, you want the trail to be obvious enough for them to go down that trail,
Right.
but it also has to have be almost like a maze, not just a trail.
There you go.
Yeah.
Or-
Let me
or-
take this corridor.
Or a trail with pit stops.
Yeah, pit
or
stops.
something.
Yeah, obstacles.
Exactly.
Yeah, and it's working good so far. It's exactly what I told you. I said, unless you fucking forget how to write from here on out, if you totally just destroy this till you end it, this is going to be a great book. And I stand by
I hope
that.
so, man. I hope so, and I appreciate the feedback from you and the few and family and friends that have read it, and everybody on Patreon, because I need to hear it, and it makes me feel good that, again, I don't want because everybody's being nice, but I have got some honest feedback, and I want that honest feedback. Because I've written before, but never seriously.
Yeah.
And everybody says, I'm gonna write a book, and they start writing, and you might write a paragraph or two, and then it never happens.
That's right.
Because get busy with life.
I put off these memoirs for years. I've
Mm-hmm.
had these little files on my computer, and now I'm finally doing it.
Yeah, and you're making me want to write
But
one.
I'll tell you, dude, I'm telling you, everybody, when they write, you're going to have and. You know what I mean? You're going to have the.
Oh, yeah.
And so when I read your stuff, I'm never going to say any of that, because you're going to have an editor for that.
Yeah.
All I'm telling you is this reads well and all that stuff, because I'm not the best at punctuation.
Right.
So, we'll let the professionals handle that. I'm here to give you feedback on, is your story good? Are your characters good? And how is it written?
Is it keeping you interested?
Yes,
Yeah,
and
exactly.
it's awesome. Before we go, I bought this freaking
Yes.
thing.
Yes, we had big plans.
I had big plans. I thought we were going to have fun with helium and balloons.
He hit me up last night and said, "Oh, dude, on the way in a little bit, I got something that's going to change the podcast." I'm like, "What do you mean? What's going to change the podcast?" And I didn't know if it was an idea or whatever, but this is what it was. Oh,
And
shit.
so we did a couple practice runs. And
Yeah, these don't
I think
work
I've got
real well.
some dud helium. Although I did make a balloon and it floats.
Yeah,
It's
I don't
under
know.
this table somewhere.
Maybe it's just our old vocal cords don't work anymore.
So I don't know if I got bum helium,
Well, it said 80%, but still, that should be plenty.
and I
You
don't know
would
if
think.
it goes bad after the longer it sits.
we got this thing. Oh, shit, here's the other one I was going to hang on my nose when we started.
So I'm not good at this, but
Follow the yellow brick road. It's not good. I don't know.
Well, I can hear it better this time.
Christopher, how is your book coming? No, it's working now. What the hell?
Coming along pretty good.
what the hell? Is it
Now it's-
halfway down the tank?
Wait a
It's
minute.
working?
See, it ends so fast, though. I can still kind of hear it.
How's your book coming? Hot stuff.
I think it's coming pretty good, and hoping everybody enjoys it.
Oh my God!
Oh, shit.
That was awesome.
I think I got to get hit that time.
Riddick, what do you think about all this mess? See, that just barely takes the edge off. I don't know if I'm not in
Come here, Riddick.
You laugh too. Oh my God, that sounds funny.
Okay, there it goes. That makes me paranoid for some reason.
SmokeScreen podcast number 36 coming at you
That's
live.
what we're gonna do. That's what we're gonna do.
Dude, that's the best one yet.
We should have put this in the beginning. That's what we were gonna do, but it didn't work earlier. Well, we were trying.
No,
this.
it didn't.
It would it would take the edge off the base, and then it would disappear. And now all of a sudden, everything's great.
Oh no, that's our luck.
Of course, we had microphones falling off the fucking table, but we'll get it straight.
Bad helium.
We'll get it straight. We're gonna get this stuff going and have proper camera angles and all that
Yeah,
stuff. And
proper
this is,
lighting
We just like
and-
literally set this here for something.
Yes.
Because we just have we don't have any sound matting in this room, so it's not set up right. But
So-
we'll get there.
Yeah, at least you
Hey,
see.
at least we're in the new house,
Yes,
and no more. The tables here and everything we add will be permanent,
that's right.
and no more grabbing tables and carrying them across in different rooms and moving furniture out of the way. And
He's got the things that we have to drill through
Yeah,
here
they're-
to mount the microphones. This is gonna be straight up awesome.
yeah, these are just temporarily on stools like we always had them, but we got these that came with them, and these are big bastards here. This is like a 1/2 inch, so you put, if I want the mic right there, I'll just drill a hole and put that bad boy there, and it's permanently mounted.
Yeah, now
So
we
we
don't
got a
have
lot of stuff to do, and a lot of lighting to get right. And I think we want a logo, and then we'll have
With-
James will be framed and I'll be framed. Then we'll have a distance shot.
and with each one of these, you'll probably see a new little change. It'll
Yeah,
evolve
yeah.
slowly.
We'll get this out of the way, and we can have little, I don't know, something where you can have your little trinkets and
Yeah.
all that cool stuff.
Hell yeah, we'll do an alien autopsy on this table.
Hell
one day.
yeah. It's-
It reminds me of that escape room we did.
But no, I'm excited about it, to get this place looking right and sounding right. And obviously, this is temporary with this one iPhone going, because my camera is completely dead now.
Yeah,
It
that's
didn't work at all.
A bummer.
And I don't trust anymore. But anyway, I guess we'll wrap it up. Hope
Yeah,
you
we'll
guys.
definbe do a book update.
Yeah,
Yeah,
for sure.
this is just
And-
we're introducing this to you a little bit and letting you know that it exists.
right. And I'll be. I don't know how far. I know you're a few chapters out or what your plans are, but I'll be updating. Like I said, doing a separate video, kind of introducing the world, obviously stuff like that, and I'll put those links in there as well. And then obviously in that video, and then some character stuff and all that, and let you guys know. So I'll have all those links in the YouTube description. But if you listen on SoundCloud, Google Play,
Podcast.
podcast, Podbean, Spotify, and did I miss one this time? It's been a while. It's been like 3 weeks since we
Did
did
you
one of
say
these.
SoundCloud?
I think I did.
Okay.
Anyway, if you listen on another audio platform, if you don't
Podcorn.
mind, that's the
the other
sponsor
thing.
thing.
Oh, yeah.
They never replied, by the way. But yeah, leave us a rating on there if you don't mind. That'll help us out. And subscribe to the YouTube channel, please. Please do it. It'll help us out.
Yes, and tell your friends.
But anyway, are you going to fade?
I'm gonna try to do one more.
Are you going to fade to black with
I'm
the
gonna try.
chipmunk voice? Here we go.
Fade to black. Why is this working now?
I don't know
This
what's
is driving
going
me insane. Here, I'm gonna give you another one.